I am alive. Are you alive? How's it going this evening? This is about platinum, everything platinum. This is from the World Platinum Investment Council. This is as of April 9th, 2025. For those people that don't care about platinum, cool. How do I get this off? Okay, cool. Damn. Okay, accept. There we go. Can you get off? There we go. Thank you. All right, that's a little better. Let's see where we start. Growth in low carbon fuels produced by combining carbon dioxide with green hydrogen is a double win for the PGM demand growth. Platinum group metals, PGM platinum group metals demand growth. Okay, see, also called electrofuels or synthetic fuels. E-fuels are low carbon or carbon neutral fuels produced by combining carbon dioxide with hydrogen made by electrolysis, often in the presence of a platinum group metal catalyst. The production of e-fuel follows a power to X approach, converting renewable electricity into liquid or gasoline fuels that are easily stored and transported and used. E-fuels are effectively drop-in sustainable alternatives to conventional fossil fuels that can be used to decarbonize aviation, shipping, and transportation using existing infrastructure and engine design. The production of the e-sustainable aviation fuels, SAF, and e-methanol for use in maritime sectors are both viewed as especially promising in this regard. Although SAC production today is relatively limited, with estimates suggesting around 0.5% of global commerce used in 2024, the International Air Transit Association, IATA, forecasts that it must reach 360 MTPA by 2050 for the aviation industry to achieve its goal of net zero by that date. Using data presented by Dalian Institute of Chemical Physicists, estimates indicate that this should require almost 6 MOZ of platinum catalyst at current loadings, which would present a significant portion of annual supply, meaning these new engines are going to take up a large supply of our platinum, raising the price significantly. Recent developments of the eSAF have seen Boeing become a key project development partner of Norsk E-Fuel, a project developer building a large-scale production facility to supply synthetic fuels to the aviation industry. Through its investment, Boeing is looking to accelerate the availability of the SAF in Nordics and globally, underscoring the importance of fossil fuel-free energy in SAF production. International Airlines Group, IAG, which comprises the airlines whatever British Airways, Liberia, Level, and Value, has recently reached a 10-year agreement for the supply of eSAF from electrofuels provider Infinium in 2023. You guys be quiet. Sorry, cats are going off. Where was I here? In 2023, IAG Airlines uses approximately 12% of the world's supply of SAF. In the agreement with Infinium, will support its goal of powering 10% of all its flights by 2030. Meanwhile, Johnson Matthey's e-methanol technology has been selected for one of the largest planned e-methanol plants in Europe. The facility will be one half of an integrated green energy supply project in Spain called La Robel Green. So there we go, people. Platinum. Sorry, I was up Silverboy Blues, Chad, Finn, Hunter. It's all about platinum, baby. New e-fuels, new engine types coming out. Mass demand for platinum is needed. I've already stated that because China is building these new engines and bought last year 2.6 million ounces of platinum out of a 6 million ounce supply, for which was 1 million ounces short of the expected supply for 2024 because Impala Mines is going bankrupt and running out of platinum to dig or to mine, excuse me. So that's where Clean Air Metals comes in. They're going to be taking the place of Impala Mines because Impala Mines didn't mine nearly as much platinum as they were supposed to because they can't. They don't have it anymore. So a new platinum mine is going to be open. It's opened up in Thunderbird, Canada by Clean Air Metals. 2 more months, they'll be pulling platinum out of the ground and their stock will be rising. It's at about 4 to 5 cents right now. It's worth looking into. It's a great time to stack it. Very, very. Hey, what's up, Silver Shelby Stacker? It is a very, very, very good time. No, it's live. I don't have no unicorn fart dust here, baby. What I do is I burn down paper dragons and elevate platinum in its place. Even though the paper dragon bought half the world's supply of platinum last year for this new engine type, the E electronic engine that they're coming out with. You'll see it this year, later this year, or early next year, coming out in new cars. And they're doing that. The whole industry is doing it. That's why I know platinum is going to be a sustainable high price, because they're going to continue to maintain production of these engines and other engines, because we're changing up from supplementing electric battery operated cars for different types of power plants in your cars, because the electric propulsion system isn't the best for recycling and other things. It's really not good. So they're coming up with 2 to 3 other engine types along with the electric and the combustion engine, which will give us 4 to 5 power plant options for your vehicles in the future. Platinum being, what's up, Mr. and Mrs. West Coast Stacker? Platinum being the main component of those new engine types that'll occupy about 60% of the power plants for vehicle engines. Will be these new style that's coming up needing platinum. So platinum right now at the price it's at is very much worth holding on to, buying and holding on to, because it is getting to be very valuable and even more needed for our new economy that we're coming up on. And of course, the price of platinum is going to change very shortly, because Clean Air Metals said they weren't going to start mining their platinum vein until the price of platinum started going up. And they already started to where by, let's see, May, June at the latest, they're going to have it pulled out. So by June, you should see price action in platinum start going in upward direction, and hopefully retaking its price of twice the price of gold. But in saying that, that's going to make those car engines even more expensive. So what would be good for the investor is going to be bad for the consumer as far as pricing goes. But that's the way of the world. I ain't got no money right now, brother. America has not quite recovered from the past 40 years of killing the steel industry here in America. And by God, my trade for the past 35 years has been the steel industry. So I've been losing money left, right, and center. I'm too old to change careers, so I just got to fucking hang in there and do what I can. And right now I can't do a goddamn thing, so, except for hope and pray. Maybe you guys pray that fucking union will get me a job. That might help. Then I'll be able to make some more investments. Not that I'm not making any investments. I am making investments. It's just not nearly as much as I'd like to. Like, I'd love to be able to drop 10,000 or probably about 9,700, 9,800 for a 10-ounce bar of fucking platinum. I'd love to be able to do that. That would be a joy holding on that son of a bitch at the end of the night, but can't afford it right now. But anyhow, this is all about platinum, because people don't talk about platinum enough. And it's fixing to make some serious moves along with silver. Sorry, I'm taking a hit. Yeah, probably. It probably is. If things, it'll probably be too expensive to buy cars, and there'll be companies that buy cars, and people who work for the company will get used to the car, or something of that matter. That, or they're going to have to increase the pay of the fucking average citizen so we can keep up with it. And they're actually, they might do that, because I've heard talk about how everything's been going up, and people on mainstream media are even talking about how like houses have gone up 400 or 500%, but people's pay has only gone up 35% in the same time period. And they're starting to talk about that dysfunctional economic scenario. For it to be a more sustainable economic scenario, you have to have people that can afford the goods and services. So one of two things is going to happen: either we're going to eat bugs and be happy, or shit's going to change. And it's quite possible shit will change, and the consumer will be a winner. Because with this bill that Congress passed to allow financial institutions to create a stable coin backed one for one with the US dollar, that creates competition, taking us back to an 1836 to 1862 economy where Congress allowed banks to create their own dollars. And after, it was a 25-year time period that they allowed that, ended in 1862. And shortly thereafter, our economy was so booming that it kicked off the Industrial Revolution in the 1880s. Because everyone in America had so much money because banks were competing for your business. And when banks compete for your business, you actually get to earn money on your savings, and they don't steal it from you like they do now. So the creation of a stable coin by financial institutions backed one-to-one with the dollar will create that same competition that the banks had in 1836 to 1862 when they were allowed to create their own money, which benefits us, the consumer, because then all of a sudden your mortgage rates drop because these different financial institutions will be competing for your business. Hey, we'll give you a loan at 1.45%. Hey, we'll give you a loan at 1.25%. And it'll start going like that instead of, hey, we'll give you a loan at 7%. Oh, well, no, we ain't touching it for less than 8%. So it's actually a good thing to see this economy coming back around, where it's going to be a retake of the, again, 1836 to 1862 economy, but digital, which is the stable coin part of it. But it'll still help out the dollar, because as these financial institutions crank out these stable coins, they got to be backed one for one with the dollar, which strengthens the dollar, which helps keeps the American economy going. What's happening here with this crash is a purge of all CCP control of American corporations and Wall Street. And just because we had a big jump today, all that does is confirm that the crash is coming. Because if you know anything about economics, you get big moves, the crash is near. And we're getting some big moves in the stock market and big moves in silver, going up to 35, dropping down to 29. That's a $5 move, man. That is volatility. Volatility hits, every economist should tell you, volatility like that happens right before a crash. So prepare. It's coming. It's getting closer and closer. Dude, platinum is a steal. It's okay. I mean, economically, anytime you have something where the use case of the product goes up and the demand of the product goes up due to the new use case of that product, but yet the product supply does not go up, typically in normal economic scenarios, the price of that commodity goes up. So platinum, because of the new use cases for which the World Platinum Council I read you their letter they sent me, the use case of platinum is going through the roof. So the price should do the same under typical economic scenarios. $5 swings in silver. And next thing you know, it's going to go up to 37. Then it'll drop down to 31. Then it'll go up to 39. Then it'll drop down to 33. Then it'll jump up to 43. And it'll drop down to 37. Then it'll jump up to 50. And it'll drop down to 48. And it'll just boom. And that's how it's going. That's what the crash looks like. Those, not exactly those numbers, but the up and down swings. The high volatile swings of up and down is a sign of a crash. At least from what all the I've never lived through a crash, but from what all the economists tell me and I've read on, that's a distinct sign of a crash. And we've never had that action in silver in my adult lifetime. So whoop-dee-dee, keep all your hands and feet inside, strap on, put on the seatbelts, stick your head between your legs, kiss your ass goodbye. We're on a ride, baby. I'm all for grabbing a couple boxes of pennies and nickels, man. That's all investment. I'd have loved, if I was older, I would have done that with in 1962 with quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies. That whole bunch of them, they'd be worth shitloads of money right now. But yeah, I've got, I believe I have, if anyone wants to come up. Yeah, I got it pinned to the top. But anyhow, definitely take a look at platinum, guys. It might drop down around 870, 840, but it won't stay there for long. And after that, that's what you call a bottom. It's only going to go up. And I just read you the World Platinum Council's letter. Use case is going up. It's going to take a majority of the new technology of this one engine or two engine designs that they have is going to take up a majority of the supply every year of platinum. In other words, 3 million ounces a year, or about half the world's supply of platinum, is now going to be dedicated to the new technology. Now, if you think about that, that's half the world's supply. Well, we were selling about 6 million ounces a year for regular supply, and we're only creating 6 million ounces a year. So if someone new comes in and buys up half the world's supply, well, if that's not competition, I don't know what is. And competition usually raises prices because it's called bidding wars. Who wants it more? And no one's going to want China to have all of it. So, that's how that works. Not only that, if my theory on China controlling the price of platinum right now, manipulating the price of platinum down, holds true, their manipulation control is ending here in a couple months, and that also should free the platinum price to hit the moon. And of course, new platinum discovery in Thunder Bay, Canada means that the Osmium Institute has probably already contacted them so they can buy the osmium that they get out of that mine. And as I'll say again, my prediction within the next 10, 15 years, probably sooner, I predict we're going to have a platinum vein discovered somewhere in Chile, probably the south in the mountain region. It seems similar geography to South Africa. What's this? I have 800 pounds of copper pennies, been sifting them for 10 years. Holy shit, Chad. Don't you have a life? I'm kidding, brother. I'm kidding. Oh, nice, JM. Fuck, you guys are like stacking monsters. Hey, but do you have cats? I got more cats than you guys have. Lost 2 viewers when I mentioned cats. Hey, everything's important to different people, man. Stack what's important to you. Some people stack ex-wives. I think stacking cats is a lot cheaper. I'm just playing. Although I did hear two of my online friends complaining about their ex-wives draining their accounts. Wolf Slettenstein Hausen-Bergendorf. Tongue twister. So does anyone want to come up on panel and run your mouth with me? I am partaking of a hit right now. Woo, that was one hell of a hit. Yeah, it turned out a little short. Today it showed I got 2 of my plants that are in the ground. Trying a new technique of growing my from seed this year. The way I've always done it is I'll take them from seed and I'll let them grow in a little cup and let them get root bound and then stick them in the ground. But I've always thought that like stunts their growth from the get-go. So this year what I did is I started it from seed and stuck it straight in the ground so that it's taproot. And of course I aerated the soil for about 2-foot depth level. So that way the taproot wouldn't be restrained to where it would have to get root bound and stress itself out. And I'm hoping that increases its initial growth, the first stage of its life. But I won't know until later in the year. What's up, Jay? I'm sorry about that, man.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, I'm relatively stoned right now, so it's going great.
Nice. Does my audio sound okay? I'm asking because your audio sounded great until I came up and unmuted, and then you sounded muffled on my end.
Hold on a second here. What would I go to? Settings, audio, reduce mic background noise.
I wouldn't bother with that as long as you've got the echo cancellation turned off.
Yeah, I've got it turned on. I've got the blue check mark by it.
And you do sound better now. Maybe it was just
reduced mic background noise is what I put up. So it helped a little bit, apparently.
Chad says it's 5x5.
Right on. So, yeah, I got that news from the World Platinum Council. I figured I'd do a live stream on it since I just got it.
And of course, I missed that. I just got here, 5, 7, maybe 10 minutes ago.
Basically, they're telling you the same thing I've been already telling you, that China's, no, they didn't mention China. They weren't that specific. They said about approximately half the world's supply of platinum is going to be purchased up for a new engine type, and it gave the 2 types of engines that are going to be built using platinum. But I've already told everyone that. All this is a confirmation from people who are actually in the industry now telling you, instead of Neil, the insider, giving you the information a year early. So that way you can invest a year early and make more money than rather wait for them to come out and tell you publicly and then have everyone FOMO into it. And that's why I've been talking about platinum for a year and a half, telling people exactly what the Platinum Council just presented to the world today.
Very cool.
Yeah, I find it cool that I'm ahead of the Platinum Council by about 18 months.
Although they probably knew that, and they just didn't decide to disclose it until now.
Yeah, that is most likely the case. I can guarantee it. But the logic behind that is beyond me, because I knew about it a year and a half ago. So why would they say that unless they wanted to, or unless they were constrained by contractual agreements with BRICS and the One Belt Road Initiative not to say shit?
Yeah. I do not collect trains or comics, Silver Shelby, but I do know a few people that do. There's a few in the community that I know that do.
I've seen the movie Trains, Planes, and Automobiles twice.
And actually, one of my customers is a locomotive engineer, and I think he actually collects, the little collectible train sets and stuff like that.
Comics. Yeah, I have some comics. I don't do trains. My half brother died 5 years ago, had like 3,000 comics, and they were real. He had all of them individually packaged, and he was a comic book fanatic.
Nice.
Not really, because I didn't get any of them.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that you did.
No, I didn't get any. He was my half brother. His family was in Europe one year, and they were being shipped back in the middle of the school year, and their kids would have lost 1 full year of schooling. So my parents adopted them. They sent them over to us so they could get them in school where they wouldn't be a year behind. So they were legally my brothers for half a year, but they weren't really. It was more just for school reasons that my parents could legally sign them up for school because back then the parent had or legal guardian had to, so my parents adopted them for like within 6 months.
Gotcha.
That's what good friends did back in the day. Yeah, we had a 3-bedroom house and 2 boys, me and my brother, and then for 6 months we had 2 extra boys, but we didn't have any extra bedrooms, and they were older than me, so I got screwed. Wasn't that fun for me? As instead of being the youngest of 2, I was the youngest of 4.
So you probably got a lot of hand-me-downs.
Oh my God, I didn't get nothing new until I bought it myself, bro.
Yeah. I got a lot of hand-me-downs too. So there was four kids in my family.
Yeah, that sucks, man. Hot Wheels, yes. Dude, you don't even know. I have 7 shoeboxes full of unopened Hot Wheels. Not their fictitious cards, all cars that were actually made. I didn't want to buy like the fake cars that, but I've got like 7 shoeboxes full of them, probably about 350, 400, 500 Hot Wheels.
Nice in original packaging.
Yeah, never open.
Beautiful. One thing that I wish that I still had in hindsight, it's novelty like that. I wonder if anyone here remembers them. It was the Stompers 4x4s.
Not off the top of my head, no.
They were like little like Ford Broncos and Jeeps and stuff like that. And they ran on a AA battery. And they were 4-wheel drive, and it was kind of like a sponge high ridge tires on them. And they were super, super fun. Like we used to play with them at recess when I was in like grade 3, grade 4.
Oh, we did the Tonka trucks, the big Tonkas. But that's back when the G.I. Joe was 6-inch tall plastic man, not 2-inch tall.
Yeah.
That's when they started to convince us smaller is better, and we didn't know anything about the economy and realized it was just cheaper. Anyone remember the 6-inch tall plastic G.I. Joes? Right.
No, I never had G.I. Joes.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Silverboy Blue saw the Stompers 4x4s. They were fun. And actually, like I the reason I wish that I still had some of them is because I think I'd give them to my nephews as a gift. I think they'd love them.
Yeah, I didn't really get to keep anything. Life has a way of taking shit from you.
Let's see if I can actually.
They were real toys.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing they had was they had little lights on them too.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we did crazy shit. Like we'd build models of ships.
Yeah.
And then we'd take and put them out in the bayou and have BB gun wars and see if we could sink them.
So I've muted this just in case there's a copyright thing on it, but this will give you an idea of what they are here, or what they were. And they were 4-wheel drive. Yeah, there. I don't know if you can see the tires on them, but they're like spongy tires with the really thick, deep ridges, so they actually got decent traction.
Yeah, stamps are hard to get money off of, Chad. I have this one of the stamp collections you'd buy like from one of those collectible places that sold them. I don't even recall the name of it. I mean, it's somewhere around here. It's like worth $34, and I paid like 24 for it, 10 years ago. But that's the way, sometimes you pick good ones, sometimes you pick bad investments.
That's right. Wasn't it? I think it was Warren Buffett or one of these other really well-known billionaire investors that said a good way to start out, if you've got 10 grand, is pick out your 10 top stocks and just put $1,000 in each and just let them run. And I guess the idea behind that is very, very difficult to predict. But if you split it up like that, you've got diversification, and you really only need 2 or 3 of them to moonshot to do well. I never went ahead and followed that advice, but
there's different ways to make it there. Everyone's got their own path.
That's right.
That's the way I see it. I mean, I do encourage people to buy, do some research on crypto, because crypto is going to jump within the next 30, 45. And then silver is going to run. So take your profits from that, crypto, put it in silver. And then when that runs up, take the profits from that, buy a house, because there's going to be a housing crash. And if you do it right with the right amount of money to start, you could come out of it with a house by the end of the year. Depending if, not like $1 million house, but, a decent house. And you could have it paid off. And that right there is a good stable point to launch any investment you have. If your house is already paid off, life is a breeze, baby. Because I know out here in California, rent typically is about 2 weeks' pay. So if you're able to make the right moves over the next 4 to 6 months and be able to buy and pay off a house with making all those right moves and transferring profit from one to another to do that, but you just freed up half your fucking pay to do something else because you got a house paid off. You're a financial king. You can actually take a month vacation and enjoy it that year. Not worry about how you're going to pay for it instead, But those moves are going to be made and be able to be made coming up if you just see what's happening, listen to the right people to help get guidance on where you should be looking at to see what's coming. And even Trump said it, it's going to be the golden age after we get this little bit of this shit bump we're fixing to go through.
I'm curious to know if you, Neil, or anyone else here has noticed fuel, like gasoline prices at the pump, dropping significantly in the last week or so.
No.
Fuel prices here have dropped about 35% in the last 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think it. If you guys aren't getting that drop there, I think it's because we had a carbon tax here that cranked the prices up about 30%. What about a year ago? Trudeau put the carbon taxes on, and now this new guy is sort of suspended that. But I was like, you guys have carbon taxes in the States too, right? Do you guys pick that up on some?
They're trying. It's not working.
Yeah, fuel prices definitely should be down, because per barrel, they're way down.
Right on. Well, if they go below zero, buy as much as you can.
My brother actually did that. What was it, a year and a half ago or whenever it was, they went negative. I don't know how much he got, but I remember when he came over to the house here, and he said, "Jam, I'm going to buy some oil today." And I think it was down to, it was like $5 a barrel or something. It was before it went negative.
Yeah.
I think he did well on that.
Oh, I'm sure he did. You held it for 6 months. You made easy 10x.
Yeah, it bounced back. But I think that's wild, and that's a wicked tell. That
Easily.
anything that's traded on the paper markets in derivatives can actually just blow up and disintegrate. Even a massive global market like oil. Hey, Teresa. Good to see you.
Yeah, there's lots of indicators of failing economy going on. They've been going on for 2+ years that I've seen. And the indicators, obviously, people want things to happen fast, but some indicators happen 2 years, 3 years in advance. It's the start indicators, and then it gets more frequent. And then all of a sudden, see silver fluctuating in price $5 in a day. That's also an indicator. Then you see gold keep running way past its all-time high. That's another indicator. There's just so many indicators out there.
Well, in realizing the financial crisis of approximately 2008, that year, never really got resolved. The can kept getting kicked down the road, and then 2020 happened, and like a third of the global economy shut down. So for sure, there's pain that I think still has not surfaced. So I'm in agreement with you there, Neil.
Well, Basel III was passed in 2009 to prevent a 2008 scenario to happen again. And the reason why it's happening again is because the LBMA is the only one that's not in compliance with Basel III. And once Basel III, and I've said this many times, once Basel III comes into full enactment, silver is a tier 1 asset, which means it's going to be $1,000+ an ounce, if not more. So as soon as LBMA, whatever happens then happens to them, Basel III will come into full compliance, and everyone will reckon, all the financial institutions will recognize silver as a tier 1 asset. So again, its price will jump. Not that it's not a tier 1 asset now, it is, and they even say it is. It's just not recognized right now on paperwork. Again, an indicator to buy the shit up.
And is that in Basel III? Like that's in
black? I've done a video on it, and I read it to you out. Not you, but I read it to the chat, and I showed them, and I've copied and pasted it, everything. Yes, silver and gold are tier 1 assets under Basel III. Which is Basel III is not in full enactment yet because the LBMA is stalling it.
Does it indicate a ratio, a gold to silver ratio?
I think it was 3-1. I'm not sure.
3 silver equals 1 gold?
Yeah.
Whoa.
But don't quote me on that one.
Okay.
But if it's a tier 1 asset, the least it'll be a 7-1. But if silver increase, that could easily be 3-1.
Yeah, Silverboy Blues is saying, why are hedge funds getting bailed out? In my opinion, they absolutely should not. Hedge funds should not get bailed out. If they fail, they should fall flat on their freaking face.
Yep. That's what causes competition.
The reason for that is, like, if you look at the compensation plans within many hedge funds, it's massive compensation to the fund manager and the hedge fund itself when they're getting positive returns and or when they're outperforming, certain index or whatever their benchmark is. Like they get massive cuts of the profit. And frequently with hedge funds, what happens is if it's going negative or it's not outperforming, then the fund manager won't get paid anything at all. So the fund managers have huge incentive to take the risks to go for that return.
And it's regulated that way for them to do that. It can be changed with rules and regulations.
Yeah, it's almost like I actually took a hedge fund course about 20 years ago. I was studying them and considering getting into them. But yeah, there's be very, 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 very careful with the hedge funds. Typically, they're designed only for sophisticated investors, meaning you've got to have like a net worth of $1 million minimum, um, and $500,000 investable type of thing. So typically, it's only going to be very, very wealthy people that invest in them, and they're only going to put a portion of their wealth into them. So if they fail on their own merit, they should fail. There's absolutely no reason a taxpayer should have to bail them out. Anyway, I'm rambling now. But
I like it. And I agree. I mean, businesses, there's no guarantees. If there's a guarantee, then it's not a business, it's a government entity.
Right.
I mean, that's the distinct difference. And as soon as you start bailing out private companies saying they're too big to fail, well, now they're public entities. It's now part of the government. It's
well,
not
and
a company.
I also fear that, when various corporations get bailed out, that the politicians and those that are involved in bailing them out, that they get kickbacks either to an offshore account somewhere or, one way or the other. I really strongly feel they get compensated for it, even though that's a massive conflict of interest. Silverboy Blues doesn't even manage his hedges in his yard. Right?
Yeah. I manage my hedges in my yard, but I don't manage hedge funds or anything like that. Actually, my neighbor across the street just cut down 2 trees. I think tomorrow I'll do a little 30-second live stream, show you the view I have now of Muir Island that I didn't have because those trees were in the way. Pretty significant, actually. It's kind of cool. I don't like that trees get cut down, but it increases the view, so I guess that's good. But once people understand that, like the rainforest, it's not permanent. They've actually done LiDAR and discovered that of city beneath the rainforest, which the rainforest wasn't there a couple thousand years ago. It was all flat plains and big.
Your audio just cut out. So
yeah, I know. I went out there for a little bit.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden trees started growing up because that whole civilization disappeared, and now it's a rainforest. But up underneath that rainforest is thousands of sites of human occupation. You've seen some pictures with the trees growing through the Aztecian temples and shit. That's all throughout the Amazon, proving that it grew over cities.
Yeah, I've seen that even in Belize.
Yeah,
when I was
that's
there.
That's part of the infrastructure of the largeness of the cities that were covered up by the rainforest. It goes from like South Mexico all the way down into towards Argentina.
Yeah, that's wicked that there's pyramids in Central and South America too.
Uh-huh.
I often wonder, if the indigenous people, like the Native Americans and Canadians for that matter, if they actually are, what do you call it? The offspring of the Mayans, Aztecs, Incas.
Yeah, they probably are.
They just migrated north when everything was going to hell in a handbasket down there.
I don't know how it happened, but when they did their calendar, they said their age time was over, and then they disappeared. To them, that was the end of the world. So it wasn't the end of the world to the rest of us. It was just the end of their world. And that's the history they were describing. So I imagine a similar thing will happen for our world. At the end of our world, it'll just be a change up to where we go away and something else shows up. And that's the only actual historical evidence we have of the changes of societies. So why wouldn't that one be the most likely outcome of our societies?
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, though.
That makes sense.
Well, it's historically proven. As soon as their calendar ended, their whole civilization ended. But the world didn't end, but their world did. So it's all context. If you're reading it from their context, it was the end of the world, but the end of the world only for them, not the rest of us. And that's exactly what happened. That's why their society just basically disappeared overnight, and the whole forest grew over it. We don't know how it happened. We just know that it did. And so again, logically, you look at the past to see a representation of the future. Using all that logic, put it together. That's probably how it works. By evidence, history. People correlate to our end.
Does anyone know anything about history? I know a little bit about what I've been taught about history, but it's tough to know for sure unless you were actually there or you know someone that actually was there.
I actually would like to think I know a little bit for sure.
A little bit. Like history, like how far back do you go too, right?
Well, yeah, and also what perspective are you looking at? You can have two pieces of history from the same time period told from two different sides of the story.
That's right.
And actually that's how you should look at history if you want to actually get true history. But so there's actually different types of histories. Or you just want to know the history that you're being taught, which is the winner's perception, or the actual history, which means you not only have to know the winner's perception, you've got to dig deep and see who lost it and what their perspective was to get an actual realistic viewpoint of what really happened. So there's actually three viewpoints of history: the winner's viewpoint, the loser's viewpoint, and what actually happened.
And I think the further back in history that you go, the higher probability of error. Same as, if you're sitting in a lineup of 20 people and the first person starts and whispers something into one person's ear, and they pass it on and pass it on. Like once it's told by 20 people, you can have a totally different story than the original.
Glad you agree with me, Silver. Okay, the history we're taught. Yes, I do know quite a bit about history we're taught. All the way down to, I used to be able to recall the lieutenant's name that did a valiant effort when the American Navy only had 4 ships, and we went after the Barbary Coast pilots in Tripoli, and they captured the Constitution, and he took like 4 guys, and they at night, and he swam through the Mediterranean about half mile to get to the Barbary Coast pirates fleet that stole the Constitution, and he was able to set it on fire and cut it loose from its mooring, and it ran into several other ships. And his that one special operations back in the 1700s, I think it was, basically ended the Barbary pirates attacks in the Mediterranean area. And that's when we only had a navy of 4 ships, and they were wood. But they were able to they had subscripts where they could pay to bring in other boats when they got over the Mediterranean. They could, purchase mercenary fleets. But America only had 4 boats at the time. It was the Constitution. I don't even remember the Independence, and 2 others. I don't recall their names. And right now, I don't recall the lieutenant's name who did that raid. But that's why the Marines have in their song "From the Shores of Tripoli, the Halls of Montezuma." The shores of Tripoli, it was a Marine lieutenant that did that raid. And that's the tie-in to the Marine anthem. So I guess that's part of history too.
Lieutenant Stephen Decatur?
I'm totally at blank right now. I do know he was a lieutenant. I honestly can't recall his name right now, so I don't know, John.
This says during the First Barbary War, U.S. Lieutenant Stephen Decatur led a daring raid into Tripoli Harbor on February 16th, 1804 to destroy the captured American frigate.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one.
Which later burned.
It was the Constitution that they captured, right? The ship, the Constitution, I believe, is what the Barbary pirates captured.
This says the frigate USS Philadelphia, which was later burned.
Okay, yeah. They burned it and burnt down the rest of the fleet because of that. Yep. It was a little bit later in time period. I thought it was late 17th. I didn't realize it was 1804. But it actually makes more sense.
Well, and Silver Shelby says it was 1889, so maybe it's two different things.
Okay, it was the Second Barbary War then.
There you go.
There was quite a few, and if you look at the Barbary pirates, they actually had slaves, European slaves. So that time period right there, 1889, yeah, there was white slaves over there in Africa. People don't talk about that because the Barbary pirates only claimed about the first 10 miles inland of the South Mediterranean, which is North Africa. And then they had trade routes that ran inland, but they only built their population centers within 10 miles of the water. Actually, I think the Barbary pirates were actually, they came after the Carthaginians, because the Carthaginians were pretty much the same way. Their empire was in the southern part of the Mediterranean and the western part of or eastern part of the Mediterranean, but it was only a few miles inland because they were also a seafaring society. And I think Rome ended them. The started into that was, I think, 356 BC, when the Romans came up with an invention. It was a spike that they dropped down on their boats, and it would prevent them from ramming them, and the Romans could actually have their legionnaires cross that board that they dropped down and invade the Carthaginians with hand-to-hand combat, which they were not prepared for. And that's how the Battle of Economus, 356 BC happened. It was the first and largest, actually it was the largest by man and boat power naval battle in history, and the Romans won it, and it was against the Carthaginians, who turned into the Barbary pirates several thousand years later. But yeah, I know a little bit about history. Oh, sorry about that. A little sneeze fit. Getting over a real bad cold. About 48 hours ago. Oh yeah, Silver Shelby. That's 100%. They actually, medical colleges and universities were started by Rockefeller's personal lawyer. He wrote all the doctrine on what it takes to be a fucking doctor. And then Rockefeller started opening up colleges, teaching you how to be a doctor his way. And that's why my style of medicine is illegal here in America. It's called natural and holistic medicine. That's not practiced here in America by schooling. So you're 100% correct. I've said that several times on some of my past podcasts. I think it was 1908 when they created that. So, anyone else have anything else they would like to speak on? I see Gerald's up in here. He ain't said nothing yet. What's up with that? There he is. I missed you, Gerald. Probably coughing or sneezing. I was only feeling better for the first half hour after the bath. Now I'm getting congested again. Dude, there's so many things I can't tell you about medicine because it's practically illegal for me to. Well, I can tell you it's illegal to cure you of cancer. So anyone who tells you about a cure for cancer is breaking the law. Ain't that fucked up? And that's why I can't talk to you guys about stuff that I know on when it comes to that kind of stuff because I've already got too many strikes doing that. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I learned my lesson. They don't want me to tell you how to cure yourself from diseases that make them rich by not curing you, treating you to death. Yeah, see, I wasn't the only one that didn't see you hop in here, Gerald. You sneaky little rabbit. Oh, shit. I'm going to have to get another roll of paper towels here shortly. The only time I consent to drinking is if I'm really, really sick and want to sleep the whole night through. I consider getting a bottle of something heavy, but I never do. Well, that's good. I'm glad we're putting you to sleep. You're gonna sleep well tonight. We're boring people. We're just talking about platinum. Or we were. Then we were talking about other shit. I do that, Silverboy Blues, but I only do it when I have one strike. and I already have one strike, so I can't do it no more. I'll wait. In June 4th, that strike goes away. I'll start talking truth again. I'll get another strike. I won't talk truth until it goes away. Yes, of course it is. That's like basic. If from my perspective, it's basic knowledge 101. Yeah, religion is there only to control. And just like anything over time, it gets corrupt, just like unions, just like politicians, just like everything that involves man. That's why they said when they wrote the book, the Bible, they said, hold, this is God's word. You will be held to what this says, not what anyone else says. And if it's wrong, it's not on you. So it could be wrong, but as long as you stick to it, you're good to go. Yeah, Gerald wouldn't come up here. He's actually too busy right now. My cat Silver's fixing to get a shoe thrown at him for all that meowing he's doing. He's doing it low, thinking I don't hear him.
Probably just wants a treat.
No. That's not it at all. He is unneutered male. And until I get the money to get him neutered, he's going to have to stay that way. And it drives me fucking crazy. But the economy is what it is, and you got to pay the price. I'm not going to throw him out just because I can't afford to be neutered. Suffer, blame it on the economy, and take care of it when I can get the money to take care of it. A lot of cool stuff happened at the crypto market today. I think it was baseline up like 3%. Or that was yesterday when the stock market fell. I don't know what it did today. It probably continued to go up. But yeah, yesterday when the stock market fell, crypto was up, and you could have very easily made money. There you go. See, diversification of investments. While the stock market was falling, if you had your money in the stock market, it was falling. But if you had certain cryptos, if you researched them, you would have made that money back, and you'd still be relatively no gain, no loss. Of course, I wouldn't be too much into stocks right now because they're fixing to crash in the next couple months, in my opinion. Is that what happened today?
So this is, I believe this is the futures markets, crypto over here, showing their. So this is only really covering Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Doge, and Cardano. But it actually looks like they're taking a beating right now.
Yeah, it looks like 5% down.
But
yeah,
I did,
it's opposite of the stock market.
I did notice, they were doing pretty well during the day today, I thought. Take a look. This is XRP, which I know a lot of people follow. That's 1 year. Let's take a look at 1 month. So yeah, XRP, it dropped. It looks like about as low as $1.82, as high as 207, and it's around 197 now. I can pull up Bitcoin too if you want.
Oh, I don't care. I was glad to hear William CMP, I think his name is, on my earlier live stream, told me he was up 700% since I told him about the Rolls Royce move like a year and a half ago.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought that was nice of him to mention. Yes, Saturday is a Sabbath. That's why I sit on my ass on Saturday and I actually mow lawns if I have to on Sunday, not Saturday, to get spare side money. I take Saturday off. I've known that for like 40, 50 years, 45, 50 years. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize that because they're taught status quo religion. And as you said earlier, religion is of man, not of God. So why would it be right?
And I've heard it passionately debated by both sides too on which day is actually Sabbath.
And there's points to each side, but again, there are people, a good percentage that say Saturday is, and there's a percentage that say Sunday is. I believe it's Saturday. Myself personally, again, religion is a man-made thing. Spirituality is personal. My spiritual belief is it's on Saturday. That's personal. It's not to be judged. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Well, I think the Jewish faith recognizes Saturday as the Sabbath, and the vast majority of the Christian faith recognizes Sunday.
Yeah, the modern day Christian faith, yes. That's where we get to know history and religion. Yes, it was. I'm pretty sure it started out as Saturday for Christians too.
It just shows how interpretation can get messed up over time too. Hey, 79.
That's why I said, oh no. Hi, 79. Yeah, it's that tell a child a story and pass it around 20 people kind of thing. Over time, everything changes.
Exactly.
And that's where everything gets corrupt over time. Even the best of things. Unions are good when they first start off. 80, 100 years later, they're corrupt as fuck, because same as with governments, same as with any businesses, same with any organizations or groups. 501c nonprofits are some of the biggest corrupt organizations out there. They started out great, but they suck ass now. 90% of them, the money you give these bigger ones goes straight into the administrative fees, in other words, paychecks, and then only 10% goes to the animals. But that's status quo for nowadays. Is it beneficial to animals? Hell no. Does it make you feel good that you're helping animals? Yeah. Are you actually helping animals? No, you're paying someone's paycheck. You give them $1,000, 900 goes to paychecks, 100 goes to fucking saving an animal.
Yeah, it's true. The vast majority of charities.
Yeah, even every good thing over time turns bad, bro.
You're lucky if 50% actually hits the pavement. That's
very good. You're lucky if 30%. It's very good at 50%. That means that people aren't as greedy.
Now, if it was going through the Clinton Foundation, though, everything made it to the.
Oh, well, then it's 95% to the cost and 5%. I think Trump told a story about that. If you want to help a homeless person, hand them $20. If you're a Democrat and want to help a homeless person, you gather up money. You get, you know, $200-300, and of that $200-300, you pay yourself, and then you give them five.
Is it
You know,
Trump said that?
yeah, and not exactly in that, but yeah, he did tell that story.
That effect? Right.
Yeah, it was a $20 bill, and he made it to where only $5 if you gave it to Democrats, because the way they process charity, they pay themselves first. So he said if you give it to the Democrats to give charity, the charitable person on the street only get $5 of that bucks. If you hand them 20, you'll be doing them better.
Yeah.
That's his whole point was the procedures of these nonprofits are for profit, not for charity or for helping the cause they say they're for. And if you look at most of them, again, 70-80% of the money brought in goes to pay people. And then you look at the size of these salaries and you're like, what's this fucker to do to deserve $500,000 a year?
Mm-hmm.
Or worse, $7 million a year. For these bigger, like SPCA, they got whole board members. It's like $80 million a year paying the board, all from donations. You know how many animals $80 million could help?
Quite a bit.
Quite a few, indeed.
Yeah, Silver Shelby and 79's agreeing too. Like, I heard more than 50% of American politicians are actually related, and I think Trump and Hillary, they were like third or fourth cousin, maybe fifth cousins. Like,
Dude,
they're
when you
not.
go that far back, most of us are fifth cousins, especially if you do twice or thrice removed. Everyone's related to everyone. You got to look at it, man. During the Ice Age, less than 12,000 years ago, humanity numbers were down to 3,500 humans on this planet. That means everybody in this chat came from 3,500 humans. Hold on, wait. 1,700 males and 1,700 females. So actually, the breeding population was down to 1,700 breeding population on the planet. So do you think we're all related? I would say yeah. I'd say hell yeah. And that's only if you look at it from a I guess from a archaeological perspective. If you look at it from a biblical perspective, well, yeah, we're all related. You look at the Tower of Babylon, we all spoke the same language and we're all the same color and everything was the same. Then we start building the Tower of God because we think they're as good as him because it's destroyed. All of a sudden we have different colors, different languages, and we spread out through all the world. And that's the religious aspect of it. So either way you look at it, it's the same. Oh, yeah. That want to know who's inbred? Look at English royalty. You know, this is a great story. They had problems finding a wife for Prince Andrew. They had to come to America, and like you said, second cousin, whatever. They had to find second cousin twice removed relationship, which turned out to be a Diana, a fucking school teacher here in America, so that he wouldn't have kids with his fucking first cousin. They have such breeding problems, trying to keep their lineage tight, or whatever the hell you want to call it. And that was played out in national TV. I mean, how could a school teacher from America turn out to be a fucking princess by marriage? Other than they couldn't find anyone else that he could have kids with that wouldn't bring up retarded kids because they were too closely related. So they had to go outside the basic genome and find some fresh genes for breeding purposes. Specifically, Diana was brought in for breeding purposes only. Part of the reason why they killed her. She usefulness went, so did she. That's the story of Diane. Oh, and the fact she had some Islamic guy's baby in her belly, and the queen wasn't about to have a fucking royal that was Islamic. But we won't talk about that one. That's the true story.
Yeah, I definitely heard about that.
Yeah, yeah. And if you read her driver's reports, like 20 or 30 or however long after, he basically says the same thing. But yeah, it's all inbreed. the royals over there are inbred like sons of bitches. So yeah, to understand that all politicians are semi-related. Yeah, I mean, look at Bill and Hillary. Weren't they cousins? Like the cousins once removed or something like that. That's why Chelsea's looking all fucked up. Sorry. Genetic inbreeding. Goes back to that, what is it, the chalice. And everyone thinks the chalice of Christ is actually a cup. What if it's a bloodline? You know, like Da Vinci's Code said. Start researching the Black Madonna. Start looking at the Templar Knights. Start looking at the historical stuff of what they actually did. You can learn a lot about religion. Gerald, if Gerald's still around, Gerald in 79 will have a kick on talking about fucking nickel.
And I think most of the major world religions have actually agreed on coming together and forming one new world religion.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, they've all agreed on that.
Yeah, well, see, that's the funny thing, and people are going to get pissed about this, but it's, in my opinion, it's factual. There's always been known at the ages, time periods of 2150 years, we're coming up to the end of a 2150 year age, and a new religion is going to come up. And I strongly believe the Mormon religions, what's his name, Brigham Young, knew that and wanted to position himself to be, well, not himself, but his belief system that he wanted to create to be that new religion of the world. So it started about 200 years ago. Islam, pretty much the same thing. It started 1300 years ago. And it actually probably won't make it either, because of the time period. There has to be a new religion starting within the next 100 years, because 2150 basically is the new age. And between now and 2250 will be a changeover, like the Aztecian situation, where they just kind of sort of disappeared. It didn't happen in 5 years, 10 years. It took 20 or 30 years, and then 50, 80, 100 years for fucking plants to grow on top of it. So it's not a quick time period thing, but the same thing should happen between 2100 and 2250. The world's going to change up, a new religion will come in, and everything, all the religions, they're all going to work on it till that point in time. But it's foreknown. I mean, it's knowledge. If you look at it, you can research this, so you can find out and come to your own speculations. It has been proven in history that this 2150 to 2250 years is an age or a time period. If you look at the astrological charts over the past 15,000 years, every 2,100 years, the Earth phases into a different astronomical area. As the song in the 60s said, we're coming into the age of Aquarius. We're leaving the age of whatever the hell came before Aquarius. There was a time and point where we were in the age of Leo. And that's where, interestingly enough, I think the Sphinx comes into play, because the Sphinx is older than the pyramids. And I think the Sphinx was built during the age of Leo, which had been fucking 12, 13, 14,000 years ago. And its original head would have been a lion, not that little bitty thing that looks real small on a big body that they have now. That they could have easily downsized a lion's head mane to make what they have now. But that's my belief. But don't make me time you out, 79.
79 wants us to repent. My message to 79 is atone. Atone.
And my message to her is Atuk!
Achtung.
From the movie Caveman.
That's okay. I appreciate her sense of humor.
I'd like it too.
But we really should repent, you know.
Yeah, you should say prayers daily. And that means repent daily. That means you should try and not commit the same sins daily. And each and every fucking one of us fails at that.
I'm pretty good at following the 10 Commandments.
Oh, I haven't killed anyone. I haven't stolen from anyone. I haven't coveted anyone's wife, but I still commit sins daily. Smoking, it's a sin. You're fucking killing the temple of the Lord. Drinking in excess, it's sin. Anything done in excess is a sin. There's some real strict rules to Christianity if you get down to it. That's why we have the salvation of just sticking to what the Bible says, even if it's not true, because man manipulated at some point in time. You only held responsible for what's in the King James Version Bible, and that's what we're supposed to believe. So that frees you from a lot of that shit. But you should not, if you're not going to repent, at least give praise to God every day for the good things that happen in your life, because it's because of His blessings that you have them.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
You know, so if you don't repent, at least give praise. I guess it'd be the second best thing. It would be like kissing ass, you know.
Well, you want to acknowledge the good that's around you,
and give acknowledge to who allowed it to happen to you. More importantly, which is God,
the Creator.
And in all actuality,
God created the heaven and the earth.
And because of our free will, we actually create our own futures and are very dependent on the spiritual alignment with our lives to maintain wealth over generations. Because if you don't maintain a spiritual alignment with your wealth, then after generations you lose it. There's actually statistics to prove that accurate in physical statistics, meaning most of your wealthy families, less than 5% of them will maintain their wealth for over 3 generations before they go bankrupt. And if you look at lotto winners who get $5 to $7 million, on average, 95% of them claim bankruptcy within 5 years. So looking at those two statistics tells you no one really knows anything about economics, except for the 1%.
Yeah, a lot of those people that come into windfalls, they're not prepared for it. And a lot of them, I think, they must not be able to do math.
You know, I'm gonna buy a $5 million house, and I don't care about the $1 million in tax I have to pay every year.
Right,
I don't
winning $10 million does not mean that you have infinite access to money, but it does mean if you're smart with it, you can have a good
flow of revenue if you're smart with it,
and you can help a lot of people with it too.
You buy 10 houses, fix them up, and them out for about 3/4 of what they're worth, so you can get good people in there that live good lives, and use that as your income, and then invest the other, $8.5 million in investments, and don't buy a big house and a car and a big boat and all this other shit. Because if you buy the big boat, now you got storage fees for that boat. It's going to cost you about $5,000 to $6,000 a year. That's $60,000 over 10 years. That's a hell of an expense for storage fees just for a fucking toy. Not really something you should do unless you have permanent income that allows that. But people who come into wealth don't think that far ahead, so they'll get the big boat. They'll get that expensive car. They'll get the stupid things because they don't think, hey, are my grandkids going to have anything? Who thinks that?
Yeah. And then a lot of them will take on really expensive addictions too. I think that's the downfall of many of them.
Well, 79, I always like spit and a reach around. It works better. I was answering that right there.
Mm-hmm.
Spit with the reach around, baby. I got a couple jokes about Marines in hell where they use spit, and if they don't, they still get the pitchfork where it hurts. So they always ask for spit. It's part of the joke. It's degrading to Marines. You learn it if you're Army Special Operations. I won't tell that joke.
I think it was appropriate.
Yeah. I got a joke that I heard. It was a cheesy joke. It was back in 1991. What do you call to Iraqi women entering a bar? Scuds. What do you call to American soldiers going after them? Patriots. And if you knew anything about the 1991 war, we're shooting the Scud missile at us, and we were using the Patriot missile. So the joke is related to those two things.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a time period joke. You'd have to. It's more funny if you were there, I guess.
Well, I get it on one level, but is there a double meaning for Scud?
No, that was actually the missile that kind of sort of terrified us because it didn't have a trajectory. You didn't actually know where it would land because it would be flying along straight. Then all of a sudden, like its computer didn't work and it would just fall and wherever it hit and blew up. That's fucking scary because we were out on our own with only 5 guys. We weren't worth a $500,000 missile. But if they're defective in there and they fall, anytime you see one go over your head, you got that thought, hey, is it going to fall on us? Because they've been known to do that. Because not too many of those Scud missiles actually hit their target that got through because they malfunctioned on navigate. I don't know what the hell happened, but a lot of them like malfunctioned and just fell out of the sky and blew up wherever they landed. That was scary.
Yeah. It'd be like being on the receiving end of a shotgun, right? Like,
and not knowing that it's coming. It's like, is it going to hit us?
There's no place
to say. It's just more of a psychological thing at warfare at that point in time, and we actually bring it on ourselves by fearing that their equipment's going to fail over our head. Which,
the rare occasion when you pray that your enemy's equipment works
effective,
that it works in quotes the way it's supposed to.
Exactly. That's what the only fear I have fighting China. Half their shit doesn't work right. Hopefully it blows up in their face. It might do something crazier. 79. You should get your ass up here and tell a joke. Or are you too scared that we'll hear your manly voice? Your Arnold Schwarzenegger girly voice.
I'll be back.
That's what 79 sounds like. I am a woman. I live in California.
Well, that's not very nice of you, Neil.
I know, but...
what about her feelings?
What about them? I'm having fun. She's having fun. It's supposed to be fun.
Me too.
Only a liberal-minded person would take it in the other direction. When obviously we're having fun, because her comment right before that was HAAAA, which leads to ha ha ha.
Yeah.
So, okay. And the statement after that. Yeah, if you start worrying about feelings too much, you can't have fun. If people take it the wrong way, that's more on them than on you, unless you intended. And that's where intent comes in. Unless you intended to offend, it should be funny. Right? I mean, if you tell a joke and it's an offensive joke, it's only offensive if it's intended to be offensive. If it's intended to be humorous, the intent is humorous, so therefore it's not offensive. Now, if someone wants to take offense, that's a personal thing that they do. It wasn't intended, and that's see that now you're getting into diplomacy or courtroom drama, one of the two.
I'm not into
drama. Intent has to be there for it to be insulting. Otherwise, it's just how that person took it, and that's 100% on them. And you can say whatever the hell you want. I can take it however the hell I want. So why would you take it personally if I'm not the kind of person that'll take it however the hell I want, no matter how the hell it was intended? See, so if you have a society based like that, it's not worth communicating to people.
That's deep, man.
Sorry. It's true, though.
Let me recalibrate my brain cell for a second.
Sorry, man. I don't intend to bring too much intellect.
Well, I was just still recovering from the spit that she knocked to it into the live.
Well, we did spin a 180 and go from the gutter to the fucking 10th floor. So
got me in the eye.
That's why people are pleasant, because they intend to show pleasantness and happiness. So they should be taken that way. And if not taken that way, that person has a personal problem, not the person who didn't intend. I mean, because everyone deserves the right to be happy. And everyone should agree that happiness is better than misery and hatefulness. So therefore, why shouldn't everyone take intent from the perception of it being pleasant and not harmful and hateful? And if you lead on that for society norm, the people that tend to take everything of a certain context out of context, then they're agitators.
But maybe 79 is dyslexic, and she actually meant to type tips.
I would give an argument that if 79 doesn't come up on panel, her IQ could be lower than 120.
Oh no.
That was an intellectual threat. 120 is a good IQ, actually.
And they keep changing the IQ test too.
There's two of them out there. One of them goes up to 185. One of them goes up to 210.
I never took one. I couldn't figure it out. Just kidding.
It's just.
But they never did take.
It's cognitive, I guess. It's just like when they show you geometric patterns and then that are incomplete in a line of them, and they say which one would most probably be next, and then you gotta put in which one would most probably be the next image. That's the intellectual test, IQ test I took. That, and then they like say 12, 14 numbers and letters to you, and you have to repeat them back to them and shit like that.
Okay.
And I think that was the one that does the test that it was like a preliminary IQ test, the one that only went up to 185. The more in-depth IQ test goes up to 210, which is the IQ test that Chris Langan took. So I think I took the preliminary IQ test because I was only in 7th grade and I wasn't going to like an Ivy League school that demanded it, even though the private school I went to actually did demand that I take the test, which is kind of weird, but whatever. So yeah, I guess on the scale of 210 IQ, my IQ would probably be 165, but on the 185 level IQ, my IQ is 156, and that's why I get those two mixed up. It depends on what IQ test it is.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, something like that. My explanations always aren't accurate or as descriptive as they could be, but that's the base.
Yeah, we still got the idea.
Yeah. I've always been told I can take sophisticated topics and layman them down rather well.
So you probably would have been a good teacher.
Maybe professor. I would never touch public school. It would have to be a private school.
Yeah.
And it would have to be an Ivy League college because I wouldn't teach just any kid in college either. No, the type of learning the teaching I would do, the learning expected would be that of a more sophisticated student. And I wouldn't waste my time trying anyone else because most of them would miss the point, which would be a waste of my time. Which is why I don't even bother teaching. Although I do teach, actually. I do teach. I teach all the time. Every time I go to a job site, I teach motherfuckers. I teach contractors about their job. I teach our apprentices and even our journeymen about their jobs because they don't know it nearly as well as I do. And I teach the contractor about safety because I'm a trained safety coordinator, and they don't know shit about it. They actually have to pay safety coordinators to run their jobs. So I actually know as much as people they pay to run their jobs. So I teach them if they don't have the safety coordinator on the job. So I actually do a lot of teaching. It's just out in the fields, and I teach the trades about their trade and how to make it.
Not in a lecture hall or something.
Yeah, it's out in the field. It's not in a lecture hall.
But you could, especially since you're on YouTube, you could do educational videos like that.
I actually am qualified.
Yeah.
I'm a qualified teacher in safety. I can train people legally. I can train people to be fall protection trainers. In other words, I'm a teacher of a teacher in the fall protection field. I'm like the Grand Master instructor or something. I don't know what they call it, but I can teach guys to teach guys about fall protection.
Gotcha. Fall protection, that means like working at heights?
Yeah, from being in a tree to being on a roof to being on a high rise, any kind of position where insurance companies mandate that you have harnesses and any kind of fall protection, which actually roofs of 2-story houses at a steeper pitch than 6 on 12 by insurance companies mandate that you have some tie off system or fall protection system, for
For
which
sure.
I'm a teacher of.
Nice. I used
So
to deliver shingles. Used to deliver shingles onto roofs of like new houses and houses that
you have the
were.
little conveyor belt that feed the shingles up.
No, they had a boom
Oh,
with
cool.
forks on it, and the boom operator, which is the truck driver, would go in and pick the skids of the shingles up and boom them up to the roof, which is where we were. And when I first started working there, this is like way back when I was like 16, 17 years old.
Yeah,
You didn't
that's what most of us do roofing.
back then. You didn't have to be tied on, and when I was there, a lot of people were fighting against the regulations for that because I guess people were starting to do it. And one guy tripped over the thing
And fell
and
off the roof.
somehow, yeah, part of the other equipment, I don't know if it was the belt or what, failed. And he fell off because he tripped over the rope.
Well, see, part of my teaching credentials on a fall protection trainer, one thing you have to do every morning is you have to check your safety harnesses, because if you're as qualified as me in safety or fall protection, you know that depending on where they buy their product from, if they buy their safety harness from China, 1 out of 3 of them are defective. And if you have to use them, they would fail on you. And you have to reject that on a job site and have the company pull in another harness that they can rely on that not to be defective.
Freaking right.
Liberty Blaze Silver, what's up, brother?
Hey, Liberty. Good evening.
Yeah, I appreciate you reminding me that I was a teacher, man. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I think there should be a good business opportunity in that if you ever wanted to be self-employed too.
I'm also a trained safety coordinator, which on most job sites with federal dollars added to them are required by contract to have on the job. They're usually top dollar guys too. Again, safety being big money nowadays. But I never went into the safety field because it's a bunch of bullshit. I actually had a safety system I was working on. I was going to open a business on it. I thought about it, and the way the contractor was, it was Phillips and Stevens, the contractor, West Coast contractor, and they told me the way they would implement my safety system is they would have their subcontractors. They would charge them like a percentage extra out of their end to cover, because I was looking at doing a universal, because the way the way safety is on at least on industrial job sites is every company is responsible for their own. So in other words, there's a lot of wasted time with a guy putting up a safety strap in a certain area, and then once his company's done in that area, they go and take that down, and then some other company that moves in has to go and pay someone to do that exact same thing. And that's a big waste. And during one job site, I showed them, because I set up safety fall protection ahead of the decking crew right as the erection crew got finished erecting, and I set up not harnesses, I forgot what they're called. Anyhow, I set up safety in certain areas, and I pulled the contractor out, and I said, watch, I said, you want people to fucking obey safety and get you less in trouble? I said, follow a system I came up with where you hire one company to be responsible for safety, and every company signs on to that. And I told him, I said, you look up there at those stairs, because you're according to your rules, as soon as that guy steps off that top rail of the stairs, he has to be 100% tied off, which means he has to have access to fall protection. I set one up that he can use to get from that area to that area there, and I showed him, and all of a sudden the dude, he was a decker, he's my friend actually, a black guy, cool guy. He instantly just grabbed the fucking safety, hooked up to it, and walked on. And I was sitting down there with the contractor, explaining to him my system and showing him live how it would work, because the general thought process of a human, if it's there, they'll use it. If they have to hook it up, they probably won't use it. So the best way to overcome that is to have it there. and I was trying to introduce that into the construction industry, but it turned out to be more of a headache, and so I just never went through it because I'd have to. It was too much of a headache. So I tried to start my Hud Solo Ironworks, and we all know that failed because of COVID. So, but yeah, I know a lot about fucking all that shit.
That's a good idea. Just have it set up for them so when they arrive on
Yeah,
on site,
well, the psychology is they'll use it if it's there. If they don't, the worker class thought process that they have out on the field, they don't want to be bothered with the
that's right.
extra shit that's thrown at them. And then the individual companies add to that by making them put up and take down safety from an area where someone else just had it. And it looks good on paper, but if you're out in the field and you're the physical guy seeing someone take down safety that you have to go put safety up on, you're looking at it going, this is fucking stupid. And then you get that mentality going. And in reality, it is fucking
It should be there right from the start, and
yeah. And there
and
should be someone responsible for it. And there should be a paperwork trail. And I was telling you, I had 2 trailers, several computers. I had it. I worked with these guys for a couple months. I was actually supposed to be a decking. No, I was I was actually their safety guy on that job with Connextex. I was their safety foreman, and I actually had OSHA came on that job and shook my hand when they walked away and couldn't find one violation. They called Chris, the superintendent, and asked who the safety guy was. And he called me over, and they shook my hand. And they said, "Dude, this is the first fucking job that we've ever been on where we didn't find one safety violation." And I was all up, being friendly in their face, communicating with them, doing all the stuff you're supposed to do, psychologically winning them over. And no one does that in the construction field either. They all are kind of aggressive towards OSHA. So
right.
I was friendly. I was offering donuts and coffee and said, "Hey, come check this out. How do you like this? How we did this safety?" And I came at them from that direction, and they were like totally amazed that I was so into wanting to make the job safe. I mean, they could have easily, and this is the routine. If you have a fucking board laying in the way, it's a trip hazard, and they can get you. They can get you for anything, okay? But when they walk away and shake your hand and say, "Damn," that means that you weren't being a dick to them, trying to not show them where you were fucking up, so they just gave you a random because you were being a dick. Because that's generally what happens with OSHA and OSHA funds.
Yeah.
It actually happened to BT Mancini on the job, but it didn't happen to our company because I engaged the OSHA guys as they came in and found out what they were looking for, took them straight there and said, "How can we improve this?" And I started engaging with them rather than confrontational to them. And that just totally fucking changed the game. And from that point on, OSHA was no problem with Connextex. As a matter of fact, West Coast OSHA enjoyed working with Connextex all because of me. I got laid off, but what the fuck?
And I can see how it could be logistically become an issue too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, I'm not stupid. I don't have patience for stupidity, and there's too much of it in the construction trade. A lot of greed and not caring for the manpower or the human that's actually doing the work because they don't value them.
Yeah.
And that's a general problem I have with the whole industry. It's a greed industry, and the humans not. They've got it to where if you lose your pinky, it's only worth $15,000.
Right.
How the fuck can you label my pinky to be worth only $15,000? Fuck you. It's worth a hell of a lot more than that to me.
Yeah.
But to them, it's not. So that's what I mean.
Yeah, it just shows how much they're lowballing everyone.
Yeah, exactly. They value us very, very little, and money overcomes the value of your life.
Human resource.
You're expendable at that point in time. In certain situations. And that whole thought process is bothersome to me.
And a lot of injuries do occur in construction. Like that's...
Yeah, ironworkers were synonymous for being the number one injured trade on the planet. That's why we got so safety intense. That's why I'm a safety coordinator, fall protection train the trainer. It's all fucking union pushed by the ironworkers to make us safe. Because we led the industry in dying on the job. Actually, the average was, I think, it started out, and this is way back when $1 million meant something. For every like $10 million spent on a construction site, a guy would lose his life. Was the average, and then that changed up throughout time. What are you guys meowing at?
I'm not meowing at anything.
Not you, my cats. I even went in the other room and yelled at them. No, I just never pursued safety because I saw the bullshit, and I don't like headaches. I'm 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 right. Don't try to tell me I'm wrong when I know I'm right. And everyone tries to tell me I'm wrong because they don't like what I'm saying in the construction field because it makes them less profit.
Yeah.
It's not that it's right or wrong. It makes them less profit. So now I don't have to convince someone it's better. I have to convince them it's cheaper. But what the fuck that? It's better. Doesn't matter if it's cheaper or not. It's going to preserve life. There's not a monetary fucking dollar on life, bro.
Well,
My opinion.
you could present it that what's going to happen is you're going to have a safer employee, and that means that your liability insurance, over time should come down, or at least not be going up because of having unnecessary injuries.
Yeah, and that's where actually I was on a job site. It was with Mid-State Steel. It was a 14-story in San Francisco. There were still 4 stories in the ground coming up, and they didn't want to put in a fucking ladders, scaffold laddering system go down. And Rich Wyman, my boss at the time, and we were traveling together doing decking, and we was like telling him, man, if something happens, you're gonna have a problem getting down there, getting the guy out. And damn sure enough, that weekend, someone was working and fell and got impaled by a piece of rebar at the bottom. It took them 4 hours to get down there because they didn't have a ladder system set up. That guy had a piece of rebar sticking through his fucking leg for 4 hours needlessly because someone wanted to save money.
Dang.
Yeah, doesn't that suck? It sucks
Why?
for the guy with the rebar through his leg, but the guy who saved the money, hey, cool for him, huh?
Why was he there for 4 hours?
It took that long to get this because on typical job sites, you have access.
Right.
Access is known as ladders or scaffolding systems with internal ladders for access.
And this
These
guy didn't have it.
didn't want to give access because it costs too much.
Gotcha.
And someone got injured and paid the price.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen way too much of that in my fucking 33-year career. Way too much stupid to save money, costing motherfuckers either their lives or severe lifelong pain or crippled for life.
And frequently it's going to be a young guy too, right?
Yep.
They're the ones that are taking those risks.
That's why being at 50, fixing to be 57, being in the trade of ironworker trade for over 33 years, I'm an anomaly. I should be dead.
Yeah, I think that you'd be wise to get back into that, doing safety course or safety teaching or.
Nah, I'm gonna get into making money.
Well, I'm just thinking you could make money at that.
Well, when I moved down to the Mobile area to do my lightning crystal artwork, Mobile is a port where the Navy actually is building naval war vessels. So there will be, and they actually have a steel mill they built down there about 25 years ago. So I'm sure they'll have needs for safety guys down there if I need a job. And with my credentials, I'll get it quicker than fuck if I want it. Because like I said, I got safety up the ass. The credentials I have because I'm in the unit and didn't cost me any money would cost tens of thousands of dollars if you had to get them and be non-union.
Right.
Like I think the safety coordinator class to become a safety coordinator costs like $15,000. It's a week long class. You got to fly out to wherever they're offering it, stay for a week, take the class, pass it, and it costs a shitload of money.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I think you're in a good situation to take advantage of that.
Yeah. Well, again, the fallback if my lightning crystal doesn't take off fast or good, a good start. And down in that area, I'll have a way to make good money to still continue with efforts to make more money until the crystallized lightning thing pays off. Or I also have a patent I'm going to put in for that it's going to be worth a couple $1 million. That'll help buy land and start festivals and events and shit like that. And then there's the catamaran design, which I got to have a friend do the cat virtual walkthrough design of. But he's a busy guy. He just sold his business 2 years ago, he was making engine parts for SpaceX.
Nice.
Yeah, so he knows how to do that kind of shit, how to do the cat designs, and he actually teaches 2 days a week at a college in Southern California, that type shit. But he hasn't fucking done anything yet for my catamaran design. But he said the time's coming up for him to do something, so hopefully it'll be this year.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I remember you telling me.
Man, it's a badass fucking design, dude.
Yeah, I don't want to give up any of the.
Oh man, ain't no one ever done, dude. Oh my god. Yeah, no, it's gonna be the most badass fucking catamaran the world has ever been seen. The concept behind the interior design has never before been done because everyone thinks like a fucking boat builder. And boats are usually have fucking masts and sails, and they haven't changed that design. Not even to this day have they changed that design. And there are boats out there that used to have masts and sails and don't need them anymore. So why haven't you taken advantage of that? It's like looking at the B design. Oh yeah, I like Sophistum. It's 150 years old. It's good. Wow, so you haven't gotten smart in 150 years? I bet I'll look at that so much and find some ways to improve it.
Yeah, got to innovate.
Yeah, and that's where America's going to remain great because your innovators and creators and new technology always lead the world. And we're fixing to have a technological revolution and a digital revolution. And we're gonna and we control the energy sector of the world. Yeah. It's like, yeah, just like Trump said, yeah, we're gonna have some bad times, but man, is it gonna be fucking great after that? And it's gonna be quick. He even confirmed that there's a V-shaped recovery baked in, which I've been telling people for about 2 years, a year and a half. There's a V-shaped recovery baked in. I heard a Trump speech today where he said, yeah, we're gonna have some bad times, but it's gonna be quick, and then it'll be over with fast. That's a V-shaped recovery. Yeah. Just like I've been saying, people.
Just gotta be seat belted in. Make sure you've got your backup plans, right?
Oh, you don't go all in on one asset class. There's waves coming in. First off, the precious metals jump or do their run every 45 to 50 years. So if our silver gold is running right now, that's the first time in 45 to 50 years. Cool deal, right? Well, there's other cycles that happen. Just so happens the crypto cycle started 12 years ago. It happens every 4 years. It's happening this year. Holy cow. Now we got 2 cycles. Hold on. Now we have an economic fucking stock market crash coming and a housing crash. That cycle's coming. So we got 4 cycles hitting us this year. If you can't take advantage of 4 of them back to back to back to back to back and come out of it wealthier, you haven't been listening to my channel. You don't listen to the Economic Ninja. You don't listen to the one who's telling you what's going to happen and how to take advantage of it. It's only called doom because people don't want you to take advantage of it. Only the foolish people are going to lose everything. Don't be foolish, because the people who don't be foolish are going to get it all. That's all I'm saying. Is it good, bad, or indifferent? Who the hell knows? But I can tell you this, if there's a million good people that have a couple $1 million rather than a couple million people out there not good having $1 million, I'd rather have the good people have the $1 million. So I imagine, yeah, money's good if you have it in the right hands. So let's make good people rich. We have a crypto cycle coming in right now. and silver is going to be jumping and platinum is going to be sprinting. They say gold runs, silver sprints. That sprint's coming. We saw the indicator of $5 price change in one day, total indicator of a bust up. It's just all the indicators are there for these cycles to hit one after another, and they say they're bad. No, they're not. You can make money if you take and ride the wave of one cycle, sell before it gets to the top, take your profit margin, throw it in the PM cycle, sell before it gets to the top, buy into the stocks after it crashes, and buy a house after it crashes. And by the end of the year, you should be set with retirement and a house. If you play it right, start with $5,000. You should probably do rather well. Gerald just made freaking $5,000 off, what, 22? He made one day made $5,000 in crypto off of like $2,200 to start.
Nice.
I mean, that's how fast the shit's moving. It's the crypto's coming, and that was just 22 to start. If you start with 5,000, you would have probably had 14,000 profit.
Now, is that trading it, or is that like
It's
how?
buying the right good projects as they come out or as they get attention, writing them up and selling. A lot of people are not even with the selling; they're the hold forever, and that's cool. That means get off the investing channels because you're not an investor, you're a hodler, and that's a good thing. Not the same mindset of what I'm selling here. I'm selling get rich, which means you have to sell because you take that profit margin and you buy the PMs on the day that silver dropped $5, and it'll happen. It just did. And you take that profit margin and you buy, say you start out with $1,000 and or like what Gerald did, like say 2,000 instead of 2,200, and you make $5,000. That $5,000 profit, you know how much silver that buys you? About 150 ounces. Pretty damn good, huh? Now silver goes up from 30, and in 4 weeks, because the economy's crashing, it goes up to 130, and then you sell it. You started out with $2,000. You bought yourself $5,000 worth of silver. It runs up. You sell it. You got yourself $20,000 or $30,000. The stock market crashes. You show 10,000 in stocks because they're at half price. And you take the other 20,000 and put it in a house that was 200,000. That's now 110,000, and you're sitting pretty. Starting off with $2,000 if you write it right.
Gotcha.
And that's how you write it right. And a small person can do that. And that would benefit everyone who has $2,000 to throw at it. I mean, it would benefit you even for $100 to throw at it. You'd come out of it with, maybe 10,000 at the end. You wouldn't be buying a house or anything, but you'd be better. You'd have money. You'd lose less than every 90%. So you'd be doing better than 90% through this year.
Give you a nice boost, and for some people that could be life changing for sure.
Indeed, $500 could be life changing if you could get it up to 5,000 by throughout the running of the cycles. That could pay 3 months rent. That's definitely a help for someone on the lower range of things. And if you're in the higher range where you can go 2, 3, 4, 5,000. And yeah, that is higher range because after that, it's just ridiculously, you got too much money. I've never had that much money. I actually have a few times, but
there's lots of people that do.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know them.
Well, to me, like being a millionaire is not really all that wealthy anymore. Like where I am anyway, an average house is 800,000. That's average home price. So
yeah, just being a homeowner and a car owner makes damn near a millionaire.
So like, you can't realistically live off that. So like, you need millions if you're wanting to set yourself up for the long haul, right?
Well, my perspective on that is actually no, you don't need millions.
Because you don't want to get stuck renting. Right? You don't want to be stuck renting.
You want to be smart. And when the stock thing crashes, you take and you throw your $500 at Clean Air Metals and you hold it. And it'll give you the best residual income of your entire life. Because in 2 to 3 years, when they start paying dividends and that stock's up to $2 to $3, and trust me, Impala Mines still pays a small dividend, and their stock's at $2 to $3, and they're the number 2 platinum miner on the planet. So you'll get some coinage off of your dividends, and at 5 cents a share, if you throw $500 at it, man, that's like a couple 100,000 shares. And if you're getting 10 cents a share in dividends, you're making $10,000-$15,000 a year in dividends. That's good money for a $500 investment long term. For residual income. I mean, you're not going to retire rich off of it, but for a residual income, an extra $10,000-$15,000 a year I would think, to me, that would be a big help. I mean, I'm looking to throw, once I get a job, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to probably buy 4 times that much. That's the opportunity I see in that stock. Right now, it's real cheap, and it will be a world leader, a platinum leader. And if you look at Impala Mines, look at their all-time chart. See how they were like $45 a share when they were in their heyday. And yeah, see, there's some good price action back in the day when they were doing good.
This is Clean Air Metals.
Oh, Clean Air Metals.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at like Impala,
Yeah.
they about 10 years ago, their stock was like $40 a share. It's been going down ever since because they're getting to the bottom of the vein of their platinum, and all the investors know that they're fixing to be mined out, and that's actually happening. So that's Clean Air Metals. What's that top? $1.41?
Just hold on, I was just on a different tab. The top was 40 cents.
Oh, 40 cents. Okay. So it's about 90% cheaper. It's
Short
almost,
term right now, it's like 4.5 cents a share.
yeah, so it's about 90% cheaper than its all-time high.
Uh,
But it
uh,
hasn't produced a product yet.
hey,
It's going to
that's a
produce
penny
its first
stock.
product probably in June, and that's when the price is going to skyrocket. Because right now it hasn't produced anything. It's all expenses and speculation.
So now this is Impala. This is Canadian too, right?
No, Impala is South African. Impala Mines. That's a South African company, the second largest platinum miner in the world. Yeah, Impala right there. Yeah, they're there. South African boys. Look at their stocks. They're full chart stock, like 20-year, whatever, however long they've been in business, 40 years.
We'll see
They've
what they
already,
have on their site.
they've already sold their Tanzanian mines. They sold them last year because they're going belly up. They reduced their workforce by 15% last year, downgraded the amount of platinum they were pulling out of the ground by 20%. I think they only pulled like 900,000 ounces out of the ground last year, as projected 1.2 million.
So this is just showing very short term.
Yeah, let's see if I can get it up here. I'm actually the host. I
Oh,
should
and
do shit.
it's in their currency. It's not even in US dollars because I went directly to their website.
All right. I'll do a.
I'll stop sharing.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I will present, share screen, share screen. Where's that at? Impala stock right there. All right. As you can see, back here in 2011, Impala was at $34.07 or 72 cents. And then back here, it was $18, $19. Now it's $5. But see, this is max all time. This is the start. They started out at $10. So Clean Air Metals is starting out at 40 cents. They still have to catch up to that $10 mark because they're taking the place of this platinum mine. So their stock should easily get to $30, and it's 5 cents right now. And from about here, well, to there, they're paying good dividends. From there to there, they were paying okay dividends. From there to there, they were paying good dividends. Now they're not paying any dividends because they're going out of business. So from 2010 to about 2013, they were paying dividends for those 5 years or
So you're
4 years.
saying Impala is the dead horse and
Yeah,
Air
they're going down. They're
Metals.
yeah. They've already sold a lot of their company assets, had not mandatory, voluntary, I guess, layoffs or quits or leaving early, and they've already stated that they're pulling less platinum out of the ground now than they have. It's coming to an end.
There's only so much of it.
Yeah, they're at the bottom of the vein. They're
Yeah.
2,200 meters down into the crust of the earth. It's at an end. They're going out of business. Unless they can buy another platinum vein. But right now, if you look at the country of South Africa and you look at America, I don't think America's going to allow that to happen. And unfortunately for South Africa, Canada has the platinum mine, and I'm sure America won't allow Canada to sell it to South Africa. And I think those 3 billionaires want to make the money off of it, not South Africa.
And I can't see why South Africa would buy it.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. They got too many other problems.
Yeah, their only incentive is that it's right there on their own home turf, but now they've got to go, what, a mile and a half down?
Dude, that costs a lot of money to get fresh oxygen down there, to get electricity down there, to get elevators down there, to pull that weight. The amount of energy they expend to get an ounce of platinum out of the ground compared to what Clean Air Metals is going to do, because they do it. They've already got an open pit, 400 yard deep open pit that they can drive their trucks down to, and that's at the very start of the platinum vein at 400 meters. So they're going to get the bulk core sample, I think, next month, into this month, beginning of next month, and see the purity and all that shit. And they'll be able to mine and take it straight to a truck and take it to the plant and do the shit. So it's going to be a hell of a lot cheaper to get it out of the ground for the next 5 years.
Gotcha.
And they'll be down to about 800,000 yards. Then it'll get more expensive because you'll have to put in extra oxygen, extra pumps to pump the oxygen, extra lines for this, that, the other. And then they'll come up with another platinum discovery because Angola mines will probably go out of business. What's up, Daryl? Thank you for stopping by, my brother.
Did you read Silverboy Blues' comments? Oh,
Which one? As you were reading them, I was reading them. Rand while I was running my mouth. There's always double standards, dude. What you need to do is listen to Tim McDonald's songs. He kind of explains it.
Yeah, I think it depends where you are too, right? Different cultures are going to have different ways.
You mentioned culture, because there's two cultures of African American that no one really talks about as far as wealth gap of the African American. The culture of the Caribbean African American slave led to success. In other words, Colin Powell, his family came from descendants of the Caribbean slave trade, not the American slave trade, but they're both considered American slave trade. And most of your other famous black people descend from the Caribbean slave trade, where the culture to slavery was different than in the South. And it's just proven fact, dude. This is actually bad for white people, but you can't get past the black to be able to convince people of this. The Southern American African slave took on the culture of the poor white person, which is religion. Oh, hey, what's up, Indy? Religion and family and one other thing. So basically, the African black culture in America is also the poor white Southern culture. And they're actually, if you look at it that way, and you look at those two cultures, they're very similar. So it goes to saying you hate the one that's most like you, because the culture of the American slave that was in the South that differs from the Caribbean slave is big time. Because again, all successful black people that relatives come from slavery, the successful ones come from the Caribbean slave trade, not the Southern American or Southern states of America slave trade.
Really?
That's the cultural difference there.
I hadn't considered that.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to that shit, man. And that's the funny thing is the American black culture is a diversion of the poor white Southern culture. They're very, very similar. And that's why I think they hate each other so much, is because they're too similar. And both stupid, actually. Because the dumb Southern white came up with the KKK, which is stupid. And then, same thing for the dumb Southern black comes up with the Black Panthers, just as stupid. So they're very, very similar in reality. And the culture, again, of the Caribbean black is one of, no, I'll be a general. No, I'm going to be a billionaire. No, I'm going to be a company owner. And they are. So race is bullshit. It's culture, not race. So we're arguing the wrong thing for fairness and equality, basically. You don't make a race-based case. It's a culture-based case for fairness and equality. And you should get rid of the cultures that are non-productive and keep the cultures that are productive. And that would be a better argument to have when it comes to race. Oh, shit. Sorry. Let me mute this.
I have a feeling he was blowing his nose there, but I'm at a separate location, so I cannot confirm that.
I don't know. Indy gave me this freaking cold. She was just talking about being sick, and boom, I'm sick, and I haven't been around no one, so I'm blaming her. I'm blaming her for my strike. And I'm blaming her for being sick because that's what I do to little sisters.
Blame it on the nice sister. It does sound like you're getting more stuffed up though over the last half hour or so.
Yeah, I need more humidity. That's what it is. I need this area is a little too dry right now for the sickness I have.
Huh.
Yeah, that's why actually Dr. Dean Bedell out here in San Francisco for 20 years, he was with San Francisco News. He was their health medical doctor. He was actually Mobile, Alabama's health director for their news station, CBS Channel 5, when I was growing up in America down there. And he had to move from Mobile out here because it was drier, because down there the humidity caused him health problems. I'm kind of sort of the exact opposite. If it's too dry, then everything dries up and I start having issues.
Well, you could. I know there's humidifiers, but you can even just have a big pot of water on your stove.
Boiling tea right now.
You don't even need to boil it. You can just have it on very low. And I don't recommend you do that when you're not going to be around for very long. But as long as
I know what you're saying, and I do that to add humidity to my house.
Good. Yeah, I know some people, they'll even just they won't even heat it. You can just have that big pot of water just sitting somewhere.
See,
and over time you'll see it actually.
Oh yeah, no, I've got a little wine glass here, and I have been putting salt in water and I'm using this wine glass to do salt water rinse in my mouth, gargle. And last night I left it with about an inch of water in it, and it was evaporated in the morning.
Exactly. So it is dry there.
Yeah, no, it's dry here, bro. I'm serious. It's dry here.
So that means Indy's not feeling any better at all, eh?
See, the thing is, you need to do more interaction with this guy named Neil Hahn, because he has these things called I don't want to say it. It starts with an I and ends with Ken. And
that's what she just said.
Yeah, but she did it in the horse paste, and I've got the actual prescription pill. And although they say there is no difference, I prefer to take things that were made for humans, and I have some, and I can get them to her, but she doesn't want to talk to me. She just gives me some fictitious email and doesn't even use it when I test the email and send her an email. I'm actually just dogging her out right now because she's in chat.
Filing a complaint.
Putting it in the complaint box while she's here.
Exactly.
I guess that's
well. I do hope, Indy, that you're feeling better soon.
Yeah, and also, damn, man, I hate you too. Another thing they mentioned, the hydroxy thingy, that's a good thing to take as well, right alongside that other thing. Combination of both of them will knock this out pretty quick, because last night was hell compared to how I feel right now. So I know I'm probably like 90% over it.
Mm-hmm.
Just in 24 hours. Well, I'm on like 36 now, but by 48 hours it'll be done with. Unlike, I know, Indy, this is like her fourth day probably right now.
I remember actually having to give the horse paste to our horses. They called it dewormer. They had to deworm them. Like, I think it was like every 4 or 6 months, something like that.
Yeah, because they eat grass and hay and stuff.
Yeah.
And, that's where a lot of your spore, or I don't know, they're not called spores, but your eggs from worms come from, the parasite worms. So you do it more often for them. In humans, they suggest doing it probably no, they don't actually suggest it. I suggest you do it once a year because we eat meat, and that kind of sort of is similar. You can get intestinal worms from eating meat too. Not that you do, but you can. So as a preventative, I would say once a year, take a fucking 3 milligram fucking Ivor and just because.
Yeah, I heard seafood can be
Yep.
a source of that too.
Yep.
But you said it nice. You
Pork.
said just meat.
Pork can be a good source of it. Hey, I sent you an email to that fictitious email you gave me, girl. And it was to confirm it wasn't fictitious, and I never got a response. So I was like, okay, she's fucking with me. But I actually have, and I can give it to you if you ever give me or respond to me on an email. I can give you a link where you can get every prescription medication that they have to offer without a doctor having to pay a doctor to give you that prescription. And if you know anything about medications, Keflex is the most powerful antibiotic out there. I get 750 milligram Keflex every time I order, and I ain't seen a doctor in 10 years. And supposedly you can't get those without a doctor's prescription, but if you know the law, you can. And I know the law, and I know the route that Congress uses to get their shit. So I know I can get it, and I've been getting my own medications for years. No research. Sorry, I had to put some milk in my tea there, guys. That's gone for about 15 seconds.
And I didn't say anything at all because I'm pretty much comfortably numb. I'm pretty close to the end of my day here.
Right on. Yeah, I was just I had received that email from the World Platinum Council and figured I'd let you guys confirm to you guys that I've been telling you the truth for about the past year and a half. They just admitted it, so you know you can believe what I say about platinum. It's actually true. It only took them a year and a half to verify it. And it was from the Platinum Council, and they said exactly what I've been saying. China's building a new engine that's going to consume the majority of the world's supply of platinum. And that's what this live stream was about. Sorry, I'm eating some, this flan hoodie.
So now, do you think that Clean Air Metals would withhold supply of platinum to China then? Or do you think they would actually supply
until they got paid the price they wanted for it? Yes. And China is contractually obligated to build those engines, so they're going to have to pay whatever fucking price they have to pay to get that platinum.
I think they should have to pay a 1,004% tariff.
Well, look at it like this, JM.
I'm just kidding.
They just bought 2.6 million ounces of platinum last year for those new cars, the engines that I was talking about, that the World Platinum Council just agreed with me on.
China did?
Yeah, they bought a little less than half the world's supply of platinum because of contractual obligations to build those engines. So if all of a sudden they have to get platinum from a source they never thought they'd have to get it from because they thought it was coming from South Africa for forever, and now they have to get it from an North American company, and we want to charge them $6,000 an ounce, do you think that would help bankrupt China?
It would put some pressure on them.
Because they would still be contractually obligated to make those engines. Mm-hmm. So one of two things would happen. They would either default on their contracts, which would put them in a shithole, or they'd have to pay the higher price, which would put them in a shithole. So do I think there's a good leverage point there for the West against China? Fuck yeah.
You know, another thing to keep in mind, too, a lot of people may not realize this. I'm going to share a screen on this.
I could put this on my apocalyptic bingo. Oh, sorry, JM. I was laughing at what he was saying.
And you know what? I didn't even get the joke because I don't know what apocalyptic bingo is, or
Oh, it's a,
apocalypse bingo.
I instantly imagined it as a fictitious list, like a list of things to do before you die. But she
Bucket
called it
list.
apocalyptic bingo as a
Okay,
humor. At least that's the way I took it.
gotcha.
She can tell me if I'm wrong or right.
Oh, and so I just wanted to share, like everyone that I hear, the majority of people are always talking about how much debt the U.S. is in, but it's important to keep in mind. Like, here's China has, about half as much debt as USA. Germany's loaded with debt. Japan, India, UK, France, Italy, Brazil, Canada, Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Greece, Indonesia, Ireland, Korea, Mexico.
Yeah,
Spain's in massive debt. So the point just simply with this is you got to keep in mind it's not just the U.S. That has problems like that. It's almost every major country in the world, and
the
that's
only
all
difference,
central banks.
the only difference is every one of those countries needs America to be in charge
Yeah.
financially. Our dollar is too entangled into all the systems for it to go away too quickly and not fuck them before it fucks us.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, with the strategy that POTUS has, and he's going through with, I agree. By 2026, there can very easily be zero inflation, and we have an $800 billion surplus before we submit a budget for 2026, which will do hell of good things for us. And that would also lead, and Trump said, and it might not happen. It depends on what the Democrats do, but it could very easily lead to, by 2028, America having an actually legitimate, balanced budget, which we have never had in my entire fucking lifetime. And if that happens, holy shit, are we going to be well off?
Yeah, most countries are not able to balance their budgets, or whether they are able to or not, they're not doing it.
Well, see, here's another for example. If you look at social experiments and who does them and what is supposedly America's a social experiment, okay, well, the Sahel nations are also social experiments, Mali and Burkina Faso. Mali is the poorest country in the world, and they actually just paid off all of their national debt. No one's talking about them. And they've also reclaimed all of their gold mines and are redoing their infrastructure, their financial infrastructure, same as Burkina Faso and Niger. And also Senegal has now joined them, another country. So those social experiments for economic prosperity are being looked at by multiple world leaders as to which way our economy should go when we go digital. And we are going digital. There will always be a strong backing of the precious metals because they seem to be. Okay, let me rephrase this. The way you judge the effectiveness of a monetary system is not by the monetary system in the country, but how the countries surrounded that country are affected by that monetary system. That's why we have so many different types of monetary systems. Each country pretty much has their own. The more successful ones are copied and replicated. And right now, in my opinion, they've got two social experiments, one a digital social experiments in Ecuador with BTC and one in the Sahel nations. And if you look at exactly what's going on between the two of them, the effects of the economies of the surrounding nations of Sahel nations using a gold as a backing, not for currency, but for the change they're making in their country, giving them economic prosperity by owning gold and gold mines and renegotiating contracts. But there's still the digital part aspect of it, of the new economy coming. But gold and silver are going to be a heavy base for any digital currency that comes up in the future. And when I say that, I've already stated that the Congress has okayed certain financial institutions to come up with stable coins back one for one to the dollar. So what has to happen with the dollar is the dollar has to be reinvented, created, renewed, whatever. Same thing happened in 1971. It's got to happen again, but it's got to go back to a commodities-based dollar. Since America is in charge and controls the world's energy sector, I believe The dollar that we will come up with will be backed by energy in the energy sector and gold and silver. So I see a possibility for a.
Some people say that it's already loosely backed by oil.
Well, I see oil, natural gas, liquid gas, gold, silver, commodities and energy based commodities. And if you look at the value of gold, it's actually the energy it costs to get it up is the value of it. So there's energy that's just in a certain way an energy market thing, even though it's kind of sort of not, more so not than is for sure. But it's going to be backed by energy because we control the energy market for the world. So why wouldn't we back our new dollar with that? Everyone's going to want it. Why? Because we control energy. If you want it, you're going to accept it. It's called strong arming. We ain't stopped that technique. It's political diplomatic maneuvering. That's what's happening right now. And if you look at what Trump's doing with these freaking tariff threats, political diplomatic maneuvering.
That's the art of the deal.
How you win a war without starting a war.
You want the other parties to come to you, right? You don't want to have to
You them to stick their foot in their mouth to where you've got leverage. And that's what he's done. And the fact that he backed the tariffs off, except for those countries that instantly were hostile to America, which is an indicator of that country's intent to us. And if we were giving them free aid and their instant intent is to be hostile, then we need to renegotiate deals with that country. So it's a self-executing fucking way of doing things. The problems point themselves out doing it the way he's doing it.
Yeah.
And everyone in America, every country is going to give America a better deal because they realize that, yeah, the time for change has come. The 80-year cycle of fucking taking advantage of America to rebuild the countries that were taken and destroyed in World War II is over. Now it's time to start a fair trade. So what did he drop back to? 10%. Wow. Canada, sorry, JM, you still tariff our chickens 263%. 10%'s a fucking kick of the bucket, brah. So the actual tariffs he's putting out compared to the tariffs that these countries have, it's a negotiating tool. He does that because then the countries realize how much money they're losing, so they lower their tariffs on our goods so that our goods sell, which is good for our economy. That's all he's doing. He's making our economy better. Because everyone's fucking us, even Canada. Sorry, Jam.
Hey, you don't need to apologize to me.
Well, it's not intentional.
I'm not in politics.
Right on. If you look at the numbers that they show, and I actually did a video on it. I mean, it's outrageous. I didn't even conceive that Canada got that much fucking money from us. But that, we could use that money here in the States. We got a lot of veterans in the streets, so and every country does it to us. Every fucking country in the world. Mostly our friends. England's real bad. Canada's bad. Mexico wasn't that bad. Still bad. Australia, we've been working with them a few years. I kept up with them with the building of the Patriot Camper. That guy actually worked very good diplomacy here in America to make it his Australian-made product of the Patriot Camper available in the United States. And in the workings of doing that, America made a deal that if they made the Patriot Camper available here in the United States, that Australia would allow Dodge Company to build a Dodge retail sales in Australia. And that was a fair and negotiable deal. But that's the only country I've ever heard of that's given us a good deal. And actually, the owner of Patriot Campers is the one who started that deal. If anyone knows of Patriot Campers, he actually did a political maneuvering and negotiating to get his product in America that Trump is trying to get every country to follow. Fair and equal. You want your product in America? We want our product in your country. It's fair and equal. So we've had problems with Australia up until about 5 or 6 years ago. And they were supposedly our good friends, and they were tariffing the fuck out of us. And we were all born into it, and we still had a good economy, so we accepted that we were financial slaves to the world. All that's happening is a renegotiation. How do you get the best deal during renegotiation? Let them think how bad it can be. Give them time to react so you can see how they react, so you know how to approach them when you actually go make the deal. And those that freak out pretty much just cut their own throat, so you know how to deal with them. It's a good way of getting away from the poopy, the stinky shit in the room. Sorry about that. I had to cough. But that's how you get rid of that. You get people to expose themselves. He's been doing it in fucking our American politics for 4 years. Every lawsuit brought against him, all this shit. Self-exposing of people who actually broke the law. So all he did was follow that same format with other countries by proposing tariffs and not actually doing them. There's countries in Africa that already brought up lawsuits for us stopping aid. What the fuck? Those countries are very corrupt. And they pointed themselves out. They can't live without us giving them that money. That money was never meant for a country to live off of. It was meant for aid. But the politicians used it for other shit. That's why they got hostile when it was taken away. For temporary. Only for 90 days. Taken away for 90 days and they get hostile. Self-exposing. South Africa and one other country did it real bad. So obviously you renegotiate on better terms, knowing where the opponent stands from because of a fictitious move you made that they believed. Wow, that's good negotiating. I'm glad he works for us. Hell, if it didn't cost so much, I'd want a guy like that negotiating for my company. Shit. Huh. Fucking have people trap themselves to give you money. There's fucking no better deal than that. Wow, everybody gone. Oh well. It's probably a good time to end it. Been going for 2.5 hours. Again, just put the nail in the coffin. Neil was right for the past 1.5 years. Everything I've said about platinum in China and the new car engines coming out. The beginning of this live stream, I got a letter or an email from the World Platinum Council. I read it to y'all saying exactly what I've been telling you for the past 1.5 years. And I'm going to say it again. Buy some platinum. And with that, I will end the stream. You guys have a great evening. Thank you for stopping by. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be kind, helpful, and grateful. Buy some silver, some platinum, and some crystallized osmium. And have a great night.